Well, thank you for joining us for our 250th anniversary of the Breckenridge standoff. Because everyone here has heard of this momentous occasion, of course. Wait, not everyone has heard about the Breckenridge standoff? Oh, well, you may not be alone if you have not. So do not despair. We're going to take care of that. In fact, 250 years ago, near this bridge, right over there, over this river, marks the decisive confrontation between the settlers of what would later become Vermont and the posse that was sent by the colony of New York to throw those same settlers out. While both sides were armed, we are happy to say there was no bloodshed that day. But it was a truly momentous occasion. In fact, our past Vermont governor, Highland Hall, who was also responsible for the design of the Bennington Battle Monument, he called this occasion the birth of the state of Vermont. This is what the Breckenridge standoff is about. Thank you. Thank you, Highland. So we are here to celebrate Vermont's birthday. But more than that, to remember those settlers who spoke of those who stand here with us today. These people were called later the Green Mountain Boys by none other than Ira Allen, Ethan Allen's brother, in his book, The History of Vermont, even though that name had not even been coined at that time. So perhaps today is actually a double birthday. The birth of the Green Mountain Boys, whose primary mission was to safeguard the settlers' land claims, as well as the birth of Vermont. So we welcome you here today for this brief ceremony honoring the 250th anniversary of the Breckenridge standoff. Huzzah! Huzzah! I would like to introduce Chaplain Michael Blakesley. He will lead us in today's invocation. Michael?
Thank you. Uncover. Let us pray. Rest on us, O Spirit of love, and chase all anger, envy, and bitter grudges from our souls. Be our comforter in trial. When the storm goes over our heads, be our strength in the hour of weakness, and help us to control the desires of the flesh. Let us grow in faith and love, in hope, patience, and humility. See how many temptations surround us and preserve us from giving way to them. Show us the path where we should tread. For if we trust our own impulses, we will go astray. But if you lead us, we shall run in the way of your commandments. Our hearts lie open before you. Enter now with your rich gifts. Strengthen, establish, settle them. Dwell in them and make them your temple. So shall we have the pledge of the children of God and our salvation. As you stated, you are indeed the God of the mountains and the valleys. And as you destroyed the Syrians who sought to evict the Israelites, please protect us from those who seek to evict our people from their homes. Amen.
Amen.
And I'd like to close with an oft-used quote from Jedediah Dewey. Let's talk of graves and worms and epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow in the bosom of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. You're welcome. Next, we would like to invite the members of the Boy Scout Troop 353 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Troop 353. stand.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag
flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much to the Boy Scouts, Troop 353. While we are thinking or feeling thankful, we would be remiss not to also thank the many people who came together to make today possible. Thank you to the village trustees of North Bennington for your support and allowing us to honor our shared history at this historic location. Thank you to the Henry House just across the river for allowing us to park there and for hosting the Village Garage Distillery, who we also thank for being here today. Thank you to David Pitlick from the Bennington Battlefield, New York. We want to thank the members of the Bennington Historical Society, and I lost my place. Dina Mallory from the Bennington Museum. We want to thank Mary Lou Cicotti, site manager of the Bennington Monument. Thanks also to Lieutenant Joel Howard of the Bennington Sheriff's Department. Thank you to the Crown Point Road Association and Hawkins House, who have been key organizers of this event through thick and thin. Thank you very much to all the living historians here today, many of whom traveled hours to join us. Thank you, Don Troiani. Thank you to all the volunteers who pitched in to make this happen. Special thanks to local historian Bob Hoare, who was the originator of this anniversary effort. Also, thanks to Greg Van Houten, GBH Studios for our PA. Thanks to Mike Cutler and Cat TV and Kristen Marcoux. Thank you to the neighbors who must bear our noise and, it says dust, mud, who must bear our noise and mud today. We would like to thank Thomas and Cheryl Hughes and also Don Miller. A special thank you goes to the descendants of the Green Mountain Boys. And finally, thank you to our modern day Green Mountain Boys, the Vermont National Guard, who are our very special guests today. To recognize the seriousness of today's ceremony, we have been honored with a resolution by the Vermont State Legislature commemorating today's event. We are extremely grateful to Representative Mary Morrissey for her effort to make this happen.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary, would you be willing to step up and read the resolution?
First of all, I am pleased and honored to be here today with you to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Breckenridge standoff. You today are a part of history because this resolution and proclamation will go down into the history archives of the state of Vermont. So you are a part of the Breckenridge history today. I did ask my fellow colleagues from Bennington to also join me in doing this proclamation to honor this day. So the proclamation reads, House Concurrent Resolution commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Breckenridge standoff in North Bennington, offered by Representatives Morrissey, Corcoran, Nigro, Whitman, all of Bennington, and Senators Sears and Campion. Whereas in 1749, New Hampshire's colonial governor, Benning Wentworth, issued a grant for the town of Bennington that conflicted with the New York colony's claimed jurisdiction over the area. And whereas the continuing border dispute led to the arrest and 2-month jailing of New York of Samuel Robinson, the founder of Bennington. And whereas the resulting tensions in Bennington hampered New Yorkers efforts to conduct survey work in the area and to evict local settlers. And whereas in the possession of a New York court's judicial ruling supporting their claims on July 18th and 19th, 1771, a posse of approximately 300 aggrieved New Yorkers confronted a group of 200 to 250 local settlers at the Henry Covered Bridge near the home of James Breckenridge. And whereas this standoff, which ended without bloodshed, can be considered the birthplace of both Vermont and the Green Mountain Boys. Now therefore be it resolved, the Senate and House of Representatives, that the General Assembly commemorates the 250th anniversary of the Breckenridge standoff in North Bennington, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Bennington Historical Society.
Would you like to send that to Don Miller? Don Miller? Is Don Miller here? Here he is. You look like a guy on Zoom that I've been seeing.
John, I'm very pleased to present you with this proclamation honoring this day to the historical sites.
Thank you very much.
Mary, thank you so very much for that reading and for all of your efforts supporting our community and our history. Well, as you may know, Vermont's militia, the Green Mountain Boys, played a vital role in the creation of the state and were very involved in the American Revolution. What you might not realize is that our militia never really went away. Instead, they became the Vermont National Guard. Just as the Green Mountain Boys fought for freedom 250 years ago, they continue to do so today, and just this past spring were deployed for peacekeeping duties in Bosnia on a year-long mission. In celebrating today's birthday of the Green Mountain Boys, we are extremely proud and honored to have with us today Chief Master Sergeant Adrian Schultz, Vermont Air National Guard Mission Support Group Superintendent. Please join me in welcoming Chief Adrian Schultz.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Adjutant General for the state of Vermont, Major General Gregory Knight, and all the men and women of the Vermont National Guard, it is truly an honor to be here today. To be honest with you, I didn't know what the Breckenridge standoff was when I volunteered for this assignment, and I vastly underestimated the impact and emotional connection that I would feel when researching it. I stand before you as a 21-year veteran myself, representing only a fraction of time that generations of Vermonters that have answered the call to support and defend our great state and nation. I want to take a minute, though, to talk about what isn't in the history books. The roles family and community play that are just as important as those wearing the uniform. As I look into the audience today, I can see and I can feel firsthand the connection, that Vermonters, the communities, and the families have to our militia. At any given time, there's a Vermont National Guard member serving away from home. In their service, they wear a uniform, the cloth of our nation. But you know them as a local grocer, a farmer, a school teacher, and a volunteer firefighter. They're your neighbors. On behalf of those that are serving, thank you. Your steadfast support means more than you could ever know. Today's celebration not only honors the birth of our amazing state of Vermont, but the people and communities that make it such a beautiful place to live. The Green Mountain Boy legacy is one of honor and valor. The men and women that serve within the Vermont National Guard do so as the tip of the spear, Vermont's sentries and avengers. On the first day of the Battle of Gettysburg, General Sedgwick ordered, "Put the Vermonters ahead and keep the column well closed up." Because of your support, we continue the Green Mountain Boy legacy by leading from the front. Thank you.
Hey! Now that I'm on the roll. Okay. Sorry. It's just going to do that. That's okay. Chief Adrian Schultz, thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all the Vermont National Guard and family members who are with us today. We sincerely appreciate your service. The Vermont National Guard has a number of units to make up the force. One unit is the 158th Fighter Wing. And we have with us today Brad Little, a native Vermonter who grew up in an Air Force family, spent 9 years as an American history teacher, 21 years as the principal at a high school in Pennsylvania. Brad, would you approach the podium?
Thank you very much. As Michael Chapman just said, my name is Brad Little, and I am very pleased to be here on behalf of our organization, which is the Descendants of the Green Mountain Boys. I serve as vice president of that organization, but that said, I would also like to recognize our president of the organization, Rebecca Allen Hauker, who's out in the crowd out there somewhere, and without whose efforts our genealogical association would not exist. She really put a lot of time and effort into that. I'm extremely pleased to be presenting this plaque. Let me show you the plaque. Which will be presented to Chief Master Sergeant Schultz, who is representing the Green Mountain Boys and girls of today, the Army and Air National Guard units of the state of Vermont. My pleasure in doing so is based upon the fact that through my father's side of the family, I am descended from Captain Remember Baker, who along with the Allens, Seth Warner, and others founded the Green Mountain Boys. And the other key point for me is that, as he indicated, I grew up in an Air Force family. My dad, a native Vermonter, joined the Army Air Corps in 1942, became a pilot, and flew the only B-17 bomber named for the state of Vermont. It was called the Green Mountain Rambler. He survived 25 missions, thankfully, for me, and continued on for 29 years in the Air Force, retiring as a brigadier general and returning to here his home state. He would be so pleased by what we are doing here today. So on behalf of all that I have indicated, it is my pleasure to present this DGMB plaque to you today, and as representative of all of you today, we are so proud of what you have done to protect our past and what you continue to do to protect our future. Thank you, and may God speed. I think I got it.
Thank you, Brad. And thank you again, Chief Adrian Schultz. It is truly an honor to have you here today. So as you can see, in many ways, history lives on, whether by continuing the mission of the Green Mountain Boys as today's Vermont National Guard or honoring and remembering our past. So it informs what we do today, how we commemorate, celebrate, and elucidate those very events. Now I would like to introduce one of Bennington's foremost citizens from 250 years ago, Mr. Samuel Robinson Jr. Mr. Robinson, would you please approach the podium? Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Robinson, look down the road. I think trouble may be upon us. Here comes that land-grubbing Scotsman Monroe, and he has a sheriff with him.
Where is Breckenridge? Where is Breckenridge? Has anybody seen Breckenridge? Has anybody seen him?
You are obliged to assist us. Where
I have
is
the
Breckenridge?
Albany sheriff here. Have you seen Breckenridge?
You are obliged to assist us. By order of His Majesty the King.
Disperse!
You have no authority here. These lands have been adjudged to be the lawful holdings of the province of New York.
Go back to Albany.
In accordance with an act made in the first year of the reign of our sovereign, King George, for the prevention of tumults and riotous assemblies, all persons gathered here are immediately to disperse and to depart peaceably to their habitations or to their lawful businesses. God save the King!
Arrogant Yorkers. Look around you. We're not a rabble or a mob. This is a legitimate, legal gathering to express our grievances. We're landholders, and we will have our complaints heard.
Says who? Not the king. I am Seth Warner, captain of this legally constituted militia, and we are the Green Mountain Boys.
The issue before us is quite simple. Each of us, everybody in Bennington, purchased our land from the governor, Benning Wentworth of New Hampshire. We have cleared that land. We have built our homes. We've planted crops to feed our families. We've taken a wilderness and turned it into a village.
You've taken New York and turned it.
Turning a community tending to land which you don't have claims to is of no virtue.
Here, we have brought a warrant. As Sheriff of Albany, I order you to disperse this crowd. I am here to serve papers.
You hear that, boys? He has papers. And by whose authority do you run on our possessions? The king's? Ha! That is still disputed. You were appointed by the governor of New York. We have our own representatives elected at town meeting.
We remember Colden and his Stamp Act. We want our voices heard. No rents. I'd rather have my heart's blood spilled than see my land divided.
The choice to spill blood is yours. Now, where's Breckenridge?
We've taken his farm under our protection. You can talk with us. You've seen our petitions. We're united.
Speechless. Why are we here?
Waste of time.
Disperse this crowd.
Disperse.
We shall
Disperse
proceed
this
with our
crowd.
business.
Disperse the crowd now.
You speak of court? Your so-called ejectment trials were clearly unfair. Our evidence was not allowed. It was all some kind of trick.
You have no right to run over the 20-mile line. The king opposes your fraudulent grants.
So, Honorable Sheriff Tenike, our cause is just. So why exactly are you here?
To secure New York property.
Then you come to the wrong place.
This is a Walloomsack patent.
This belongs to James Breckenridge.
The courts have decided elsewhere.
James Breckenridge has legal title to this land. We don't recognize the New York courts.
But the king recognizes the New York courts. And you know why? Because those courts are his courts. Now, let us proceed to Breckenridge's house. Where is he? If need be, we will stave in his door.
Hold. We want no trouble here.
What trouble?
Look yonder.
I brought my shovel.
trouble for you, Sheriff.
Good God. I think the mob has the better of us today.
I think we should withdraw and reconsider our situation.
History is alive. Frustrated with their goal of evicting the settlers, Vermont is born. While the living historians gather, prepare their muskets, and the cannon prepares to fire for our final salute, we invite you all to stick around for the Breckenridge Tour that begins at 3 o'clock, to tour the information tables, talk to our living historians, or simply enjoy the day. It's not raining right now. So we are so very thankful for you joining us at today's ceremony. We will start with a musket volley from our living historians, and we will finish with 2 more cannon shots. Living historians, are you at the ready?